What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Enigma, and we are back to the JunkBox episode 5. This is episode 5, right? I think it's episode 5.
I think so.
Pretty certain it's episode 5. We'll correct it if it's not. But welcome to episode 5 of the JunkBox. Today we are talking about classic games. We'll be talking about probably games that we remember in our childhood. We'll be talking about games that we've played personally at the arcades that we enjoy. We'll be talking about games that we believe will stand the test of time, whether good or bad, because I believe there's going to be a game that will always stand the test of time as a bad game. We'll kind of get into stuff. Pretty much anything to do with classic games. I have a few stories that I've learned through game design in terms of games that I know of that are like classic games that had some tough starting out or a lot of or like lawsuits or something like that. So we'll be getting into all of that. So yeah. So without further ado, we're definitely gonna get going here. Is there any game you want to start by talking off, or do you want to just like jump
You
right
can
in with
start.
anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I got lots of games I guess I could talk about, but
I think personally, and this is a new game. Um, God, seems like so long ago. I think it was like 3 years ago. Me, Corny, and Yodeling Taco went to an arcade. I want to say it was 3 years ago, right? I went to like the largest arcade in the world or whatever. And
yeah, fun spot.
yeah, we went to Fun Spot, and we found this game there, which still I think is one of my favorites right now. Um, shit, I had it and now I lost it. What the fuck is the
What
name of
is
that
the game
song?
about? I can tell you maybe.
It's that one with the angry dude, the angry ship. You
You
remember
mean
that?
Sinistar?
Sinistar. That's the one.
I knew about that game before we went there. I just never had been able to play it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I probably maybe I heard about it before, but I mean, once we got to play it, it was like a whole nother. I mean, that game is oh. If you guys have never seen Sinistar, actually, let me see if I can pull it up on stream. I'll try and pull up some of these
I
as we talk about
live.
it. Oh my god, it's such a fun game in my personal opinion. Like it's so hard to explain why it's so much fun, but it just is. Like
Yeah.
it's just
I
too
mean,
good.
it's kind of that old school arcade philosophy of something that is addictive to play, and it'll get you putting quarters in over and over again.
Exactly.
It's really hard. Like I've never defeated Sinistar
I don't think
before.
I don't think either one of us has. So basically the objective, this is actually exactly what the game looks like. Here's Sinistar here. Let me see if I can just open this image in a tab. Kind of zoom in a little bit. It's gonna be really blurry, but basically the object is you're this little ship, and there's these like asteroids, and then there's Sinistar who's rebuilding himself basically, and then there's these little like I don't know like enemy pilots I guess that are also flying around too, and your
Yeah.
objective is you mine these asteroids by like knocking into them like and shooting at them, and basically these bombs come out, and sometimes the enemies, I think one of the cool mechanics of it for being an old game is like the enemies like know where the bombs are, so they'll like sometimes like pick one up and like just run off with it, but technically you're supposed to pick him up and then go bomb Sinistar and destroy him.
And
And that's basically like the realm of the game. But once he's done building himself, he goes like, "I live," and then he starts like chasing after you. And when he gets like within range, he just goes, "Wah!" and like fucking sucks you in. It's so
He'll
good.
munch on you.
It's definitely a fun game. If you guys ever see it
are
at
we
like an
talking about
arcade or
that old
something,
arcade game that
we
you showed
are.
me once, James?
We're in the middle of a podcast, also, Tommy. Just so you
Oh, didn't know that.
Do you want to be a special guest, Tommy, again?
Yeah, I guess I'll just show up and I
We're
didn't know
talking
you
All
about
were
old
right,
here.
hang
video
on.
games.
Talking
Well,
about the
I'm
classics.
not gonna stay for long because I'm going to I gotta go into the Boston
Temporary
postmortem.
guest.
Yeah, yeah. Actually,
What's an old game you
John, I
like,
don't know
Tommy? Just name it.
Yeah, yeah. Old game
Oh
you like.
God, old game. I always like Galaga. Like
Galaga.
that was like the old like the arcade game I would usually go to. But also
Yeah.
Time Crisis 2. Like whenever I went to the arcade, I would always make sure like if they had Time Crisis 2, I would always play that.
I don't know if that's really. Is that an old game, Time Crisis 2? Has that really been
I
out that
mean,
long? I mean,
it's been out
technically,
since 20
eventually
plus
it's gonna
years.
be. Yeah, I mean, I
2000.
guess eventually it's gonna be an old game, right? I mean,
I don't know how old it actually is because I'm not sure exactly when it came out. But
I've got
Galaga's right
hang on,
here.
Time Crisis 2. Time Crisis 97. I'd say it's
Wow,
an old game.
really?
Yeah,
so
Time
Okay,
yeah,
Crisis
I'd
2.
say
that's
it's
kind of
pretty old.
That was on
surprising.
the
That's
PlayStation
retro.
2 also.
I know, like, what was it? Time Crisis 3. Oh my God, you could actually get that on like the PlayStation 3 with like the like with a gun and everything that like it would actually pick you up on the TV. It was actually kind of cool.
I only ever played it in the arcade with the pedal. Was that the one with the pedal where
It
you had to
Yeah.
was,
like hide
yeah.
behind?
You just
Yeah.
kind of like press the pedal to duck and then
Yeah, it was.
shot.
Hang on.
I have it up on the screen right now if you want to
Yeah,
say.
it was pretty cool.
Right
Also, my
here.
dad played the samurai one, where it's like you had the hilt of like a katana,
Really?
and
That sounds
yeah,
cool.
it was really cool, and it would like track the motion and whatnot. You could like parry.
Hmm.
I don't remember the name because I remember watching when I was like 7 or something like that.
Hmm.
And I would like always try to watch, but he's like, you can't see this. Like your mom's gonna kill me, because like there was a ton of
Your
blood
mom's
and
Might
gonna
stuff.
have.
kill me.
She's gonna give you too
Actually,
much heat.
that's a
Yeah.
good segue for our first issue amongst the classic games. Should we talk about Mortal Kombat and the issues with Mortal Kombat due
Well, I
to
mean, Mortal
violence?
Kombat, yeah, this incited the whole rating system
Yep.
that we know
Yeah.
of today. The ER, what is it? ERBS,
ESRB.
Yeah,
ESRB,
ESRB.
something like that. Yeah.
They had at least publicly, uh, I think it was like 6 lawsuits was what I was just reading in an article of mothers that lost their sons to a friend or something that killed them with like a weapon of some kind, whether it was like a knife or something, or like not all of them were killed. Some of them were uh very injured. Um and the mothers claimed that it was because the friend of their child was addicted to Mortal Kombat, and thus they were suing for damages.
Damn. Yeah, that's
So
something. Yeah, I
sounds like a
mean,
scapegoat if you ask me.
yeah, video games have always been a ever since that happened. Like Mortal
Hmm.
Kombat happened, video games have just been used as a scapegoat for
Just
like.
bad parenting if you ask me. That's just that'd be my opinion.
I agree. No,
You
I
know,
personally can agree
knife
with
is
that.
sharp. Like how, no matter what knife it is, it's always treated as it's sharp.
Exactly. I think personally, I have to agree. I think video games definitely have been used as a scapegoat a lot. I mean, even aside from video games, you think about like D&D back in the day, right? D&D was like considered like sometimes like back during like
Satan
Satanic.
communism and
worship.
stuff and like
Yeah,
warships and
yeah.
like or like I've read articles about where they thought like D&D was like terrorist groups like trying to get together.
Yeah, from what I remember, it's mostly like because there's a big Satanism craze in the '80s where they're
Mhm.
like, "Oh my God, Slayer is like gonna destroy our children's minds
Well,
because they're
to be fair,
Satan worshippers."
Slayer, Slayer is
Oh,
a
then they
pretty
also
metal,
dragged
but they're also
D&D into
great.
it.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
This is what I'm saying is that they just like it was this new thing that they don't understand, which was like board games, I guess they didn't understand, and metal, so they just like kind of said they were bad, blamed
Slayer,
it on them.
Slayer, and D&D. What a perfect combination. All right. Yeah, so I mean Mortal Kombat, I mean I definitely would say though Mortal Kombat had a lot of good things coming into classic games, specifically especially with the utilization of their graphics, right? Cuz I mean like we think about the original Mortal Kombat, they were done with like video projection basically, right? Technically, in a way.
It was
It
video
was video
footage.
footage that then was
Yeah, it was just
composed
rendered
onto a
into
into the engine. Well, it wasn't
yeah,
really engines back then, but
from
uh,
whatever
What
nearly
was
what
it?
we
It
have
potato
now.
they had.
counts. But yeah, I mean, before that point, you couldn't really get anything close to photorealistic, so they just kind of
Yeah.
went for it. Which, if
But
you
no
look
one's
at
ever
it
seen
now,
that before,
doesn't
right?
look so great. But back then, it must have been pretty cool to see people who actually look like people on
Hmm.
screen and not like
Yeah.
people made of tiny little pixels.
Yeah, because I
No,
mean,
yeah.
at the time, what was actually the tech? Like, what was the technology of that? Were we on 64-bit yet, or probably not, right?
No,
Well, that was the
that was at
90s.
like because
Yeah, it was early
Mortal Kombat
90s
came
Mortal
out on
Kombat, right?
SNES. So it came out on SNES and Genesis. So 90 or like
Early
92.
90s, I think, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
92. So yeah, it was
definitely
still
no
32.
64
I think it was
by then.
32-bit back then. Yeah, these look like 32. I wouldn't say it was 16. 16 is way too small for some of this.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I mean, I can't say I grew up playing the original Mortal Kombat, but they're cool games to go. I grew up playing different Mortal Kombats.
Hmm.
Uh, but I never played the original until later on.
I did not grow up playing Mortal Kombat at all. I actually didn't really grow up playing anything besides like what I could get my hands on for GameCube games, really. There was a couple arcade games that obviously I had played growing up, which was like Pac-Man and Asteroids and like Centipede, the classics that I think most people were, shown as kids when at least our generation. Maybe not like our parents' generation, considering that like they were coming out during their time, right? But those were kind of like what I grew up on. But aside from those, my first ever game on the GameCube, which I'll definitely get into, was Monsters Inc. Dodgeball.
This is gonna be a big topic for today.
No, no,
Monsters
no.
Inc. Dodgeball.
But you gotta know that this game exists, all right? And let me tell you, it knocked it out of the park for me as a kid. I'll
Yeah.
never forget this game.
Okay. All right. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
All right. So you used to go into these streets, and there was these like dodgeballs that would spawn in, and you would try and hit the AI with them, and they would try and hit you, and you would get like knocked out or something after a couple hits or whatever, and you could play as different like characters from the Monsters Inc. On different maps too that you saw in the movie. But also there was like special balls. So the basic red ones were like, oh, like they just acted as normal dodgeballs. But then there was ones that were like powered up balls. So there was like purples and greens, and some of them like slimed you. So you'd be like wicked slow or something. Like I just remember all these like dude, it was just one of those games. Like you just had to be there. Like I don't know. You just had to be
See,
exposed to it. I'm showing it on
I
screen right now. Like
I grew up with this game for the GameCube. My first GameCube game that I remember is this game called Battalion Wars, and I'll throw a picture of it in the
What
Discord.
was it called?
Battalion Wars. This
Oh,
game
Battalion. I
was
thought you said
it was
Italian. I was like,
no,
what
I
not
are
see.
Italian
you
Wars.
throwing
No,
I
no,
see
no,
it.
no.
No, that's French. Anyways.
That's French,
Yeah.
you uncultured swine.
Yes.
Um,
they had
but
like
yeah, I
these
remember
big
playing this
trucks. Look
game
at
and it
these
was
big
like
trucks.
they were like these little tiny army dudes and like these like really weird disproportioned
Hmm.
vehicles and guys, and it was just a really fun little third-person shooter thing. And
Bazooka.
you could play it as like a tactical game also, like one of those like you command your
Top
armies.
down.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
RTS.
Well, similar to that. It's more like what an what was it? Squad Tactics, I think, something like that.
Oh, okay,
You guys
okay.
remember those type of
Yeah,
games, those
yeah.
old games? Or you could go in and actually play as one of the soldiers, like yourself. You can pick one of like the rifleman or the bazooka guy, and you can actually like go down into the
Hmm.
field and like play as like one of the little soldiers.
That's
I would
not
always play
bad.
as the rifleman, like just go down and shoot stuff. It was fun.
I mean, once I had moved on from you know, Monsters Inc. Dodgeball.
Wait, you
I
You
moved
did.
on from
I did,
Monsters Inc.
dude.
Dodgeball?
I
How did
did.
I
I
that?
thought
gotta tell you.
I thought you'd still be playing that, man.
I
Like
I
this
went to
is
I went to Star Wars. They had the Lego Star Wars games, which I thought were actually kind of fun. I don't know. I feel like
we
most everybody played those,
so you
right?
went
I mean,
from Monsters Inc. Dodgeball
hmm
to Lego Star Wars, one of
yeah,
like the
y-
best GameCube games
right.
to ever exist. Like I don't know,
I
it's quite
played.
the leap.
I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, okay, personally, and we could go on and on about Star Wars, obviously, but I'm gonna narrow it down. I honestly, obviously, the original trilogy touched home to me because those were the first three movies that I was like shown, kind of in a way, for in terms of Star Wars. So obviously there was, the original trilogy. Star Wars 2 was always near and dear to my heart for the GameCube game, but I actually never minded the prequel version, which was just Lego Star Wars the video game. But I had actually gotten them in the right order because I had actually gotten this one and then I did the prequels the same way like the movies came out, and it just happened to be that way. Like I could have gotten this one first. It was just that I think this one I had seen like a video way back in the day, if you could believe it, on YouTube, and Yoda floats in a little chair, and I really wanted to float around in a chair. Yeah, it's right here. Look at he floats in a fucking chair. I remember that. I was just like, dude, I want to float in a fucking little like 8-year-old Enigma was just like, dude, I want to be floating in a chair. Fuck walking. already,
Yeah,
already at that age.
I remember I got an original Xbox just to play Lego Star Wars because I saw commercials for it, and I really don't understand, that maybe I could have gotten a different system. So I was just like, it was advertised for Xbox. I want an Xbox so I can play that game. That's what I said, and
I want
so I
an
got my
Xbox.
Xbox, and I played a bunch of other games also, like Tony Hawk's American Wasteland.
I didn't do. Actually, I take that back. There was a Tony Hawk game that I played in middle school, but it was like on PC. It was like really low quality too. I don't know if
PC
I might
Tony
have
Hawk game.
ported it. I might have ported it. Like, believe it or not,
Okay.
in middle school, I found like a port for a Tony Hawk game because it was definitely. I remember playing it. It was in like in the art room or something, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play some Tony Hawk today.
Well, that's funny because I remember James was saying, "Oh, I bought this Tony Hawk game because it was one of my childhood games that I played like way back when." And I was
Hmm.
like, "It doesn't have to happen to be Tony Hawk American Wasteland, right?" And we were both like reminiscing about how we both like kind of like metal and like punk music, and how Tony Hawk American Wasteland is just littered, like the whole soundtrack is just punk music going through it, and we were both just kind of, I wouldn't say shocked, but like just coincidental that we both played that as in our younger days.
Yeah, and we found out after we both started to play it again that Tommy's not very good
I'm
at
not
it.
good at it. No. I don't know
He's
if it's the
very
controller or what, but I wasn't good at it. I'm gonna blame the controller on it though.
yeah, blame the controller.
I will. I will.
So I feel like, obviously I did want to talk a little bit about games that will, stand the test of time. Since we're on the GameCube topic anyways. Uh Mario Kart Double Dash, I feel, alongside Lego Star Wars, are probably two GameCube games that will definitely stand the test of time and always be like games that people like knew, maybe they can't get their hands on in the future, but they'll know existed, and like, you know, we'll remember the name, because I mean, Mario Kart Double Dash was definitely a game that I sunk a ton of hours in as a kid, and I mean, it's really like the first like real Mario Kart, because obviously there's the one on the Nintendo 64, right? But like, I don't know if that one had the same gravity in terms of pull that Mario Kart Double Dash did, because Mario Kart Double Dash was like the first one where you could actually swap to your second rider. Like that was the whole like thing with it, was they had two riders, and like the second one you could swap to with separate like specials, if that makes sense. I don't know.
You just mean like because you have two riders, you can switch between different items.
Well, that too, but also if you remember, like you had a higher chance of getting like the person's special item, right? So like if you played
Oh,
Mario, he had like the fireball, right? But if you ran like Mario and then Baby Mario, you would get like the chain dog, and then you would also get the fireball. So like people
chain
were
chomp,
always talking, yeah, the chain chomp. So people were
chain
always trying to figure
ball,
out like
classic.
what they wanted to like, link together in order to like create like big power combos, I guess you could say. I don't know. I just remember that. But I mean, do you guys disagree? Do you think they will stand the test of time, or do you think they won't? What's your opinion?
Uh, I mean, I don't know about that one specifically. I
I don't
guess
know about Double
like
Dash. Um, Lego Star Wars, yeah. I think people, I think people still probably enjoy Lego Star Wars. They'll go back and still play
they're
it.
still they're still putting out Lego games,
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, I
I mean,
and
feel like
it's
they
also they're
still.
should
still
have.
putting out Mario Kart games. But
Yeah, but not. They don't have anything like Double Dash. Double Dash was unique. I will give it that. In a sense of, you can, even I remember you can plug in a second controller and have your like the other person control like to throw stuff and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool
Yeah, if
because it
you
was
ran
in a sense
like
of more of a
if
co-op.
you could do like 4-player, but then you do split screen where you had two people controlling one cart and then the two others controlling the other cart, and like so you could still have 4 players doing it that way, or you could all play separately. But that was kind of unique. I don't know. I think I would have to agree kind of because I definitely think Lego Star Wars is definitely gonna be, definitely stand the test of time. I just have like a feeling that Mario Kart Double Dash would as well. I just don't know how close it would be. Cause like for me, but again, see, for me personally, like I bought this game myself and like sunk a ton of hours into it, so that's why I'll probably always remember it. But like someone that our generations after us gonna know anything about Mario Kart Double Dash, like are people actually gonna transmit that knowledge? Whereas someone's probably gonna talk about Lego Star Wars to them, right?
Well, that's also a thing you gotta consider
That's
too.
the
Is all
question.
is perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You're very fond of like Monsters Inc. game, but me and James, we never heard of it.
Oh yeah, that
At least
wouldn't
I've
stand the
never
test.
heard of it
That
before.
that game
I
right
have a
there is
poster of it
not
in my
gonna
room,
stand
so
the
I've
test
heard
of
of it.
time.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. James has a poster of it.
Um, yeah, I don't think Monster Inc. Dodgeball is gonna stand the test of time, but like
Pretty
something
good.
like if we brought into the N64 games, I mean, uh, God, there's tons of them that I think could stand the test of time for that. Probably. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
would
mean,
say I would say a lot of people that I talked to, even though I never really knew about it personally till recently, a lot of people know about Glover, and I never knew that
oh
Glover was
really?
that
I
popular, to
think
be honest.
Glover was a good bad game. I think it was
I
kind of
just
like a
never
meme.
expected that. Like,
Or at
I
least that's
was
what I
like,
thought it was. That's why it got popular. Because it's like, hey, you guys know that game Glover? But I could be wrong. It could be. I haven't played it before, so it could actually be
I
pretty
mean, it seems
good.
fine to me. I haven't played it that much, but
Oh, cause isn't it similar to? No, it's probably not similar to Monkey Ball, but
they had Mario
from
64
the
too,
very
which
little that I have seen of it.
yeah, I was gonna say
obviously,
Mario 64 will probably be remembered
yeah,
for a while.
Diddy Kong
that'll
Racing.
Diddy Kong
Mm,
Racing maybe.
I'm not
I
sure
don't know
about
about that
that.
one.
You sh-
Yeah.
really?
I
Okay.
would
All right. All
say
right.
like if you thought that one was gonna stand the test of time, then Double Dash should definitely stand the test of time
Oh,
because
okay. I
it's one of
guess
those.
misused that then.
Do you think? Okay, big question. Do we feel like Doom would stand the test of time,
Yeah, people still play that. The
like the
original one.
classic, the original Doom?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I was just wondering how you felt
people
about
play it
that.
on calculators now.
Because like the question, I guess, would be like, really, is there a point that you feel like where an old classic game, say like something like, I mean, we could take it back to Mario Kart, where Double
Well,
Dash
I'm
could
gonna
get
head out to start the
absorbed.
stream. I'll talk to
Oh,
you guys
Yeah.
okay.
later.
See ya. Like where you think that like something like Double Dash, right, would get like disappeared in like the grains of history because of the fact that they come out with a new Mario Kart so often. So if enough Dooms came out, do you think the original Doom would ever like disappear?
I
Where
think because Doom was so influential, I think that's where what we really are talking about is whether or not things were like are important enough to be remembered. And I'd say
mhm
Doom is definitely one of them, and as far as games go, because Doom and Wolfenstein were some of the first FPS shooters, and
mhm
you can see how big that genre is now, and probably will be big forever. So I'm assuming the original Doom will always be remembered.
mhm. And yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. And then I mean, going off of that too, right? We can talk arcade games again, influential. Uh, I don't think there's ever gonna be a point where people don't know about like the main three, as I call it, which or actually even Galaga could be even included in that, but like definitely Pac-Man, Asteroid, Centipede. Like I just don't foresee those ever going really away, even though
Yeah.
and they've already lasted like this long. I mean, obviously there's a bunch more in there that like, Donkey Kong could even be included in that. Like there's tons of games that like arcade games that have definitely stood the test of time. But I would definitely say if there was one or two amongst all of them that would, progress if any of them were going to like disappear or if all of them were going to disappear, the two that would probably in my opinion last the longest would definitely have to be like Pac-Man and then I actually don't know what the other one was. Maybe Galaga might. I feel like there's a lot of people that know Galaga. Probably Donkey Kong though. I feel like it would be Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. I know
Yeah.
Pac-Man would be one, right? Because I mean, like
Yeah.
Pac-Man's
I
definitely
would
there.
agree.
I would
Hmm.
say a second one would be kind of hard though to kind of pick out because there's definitely a lot there. I kind of feel like a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
know
think
about the
Donkey
classic
Kong could be
Donkey
one of
Kong.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, Donkey
So,
Kong had some issues. I
what do you
remember
mean?
reading about that. When Donkey Kong first got released, there was a whole thing with Universal Studios suing them for the Kong rights because of the fact
Oh,
that they had
really?
came out with King Kong beforehand.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like a huge like controversial issue because and actually Donkey Kong being Nintendo's like first forefront kind of game in a way that like really pole vaulted Nintendo like so far. Um they say that was like the make or break point at that point. Because if they had lost that suit, it probably would have like ended Nintendo.
Yeah.
Which
Because
is
they're
kind of
still
crazy to
upcoming.
believe.
Yeah.
Like that like because they were able to win against Universal, they're able to like become like the conglomerate that they are now, you know,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. In my game design opinion, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, I think so.
They come. I mean, actually, another game that'll probably stand the test of time. Talking about Nintendo, Legend of Zelda,
Yeah, probably.
like pretty much, especially like Ocarina of Time. I feel like there's, I mean, you definitely would know that, but like any of the Legend of Zelda, I mean, the character itself, like, because that's another thing we could talk about, influential characters, um, Mario, Sonic, Zelda, like Link, all of those characters probably gonna stand the test of time, whether or not their games do or not, or what games do. Like, those are characters that are so highly influential that it's like crazy, People will
Hmm.
always remember those characters, even if all the games like dried up and died that had those characters in them, and they never came out with another game with it, which I would highly doubt. But although I guess I kind of are they still making Sonic games? Are they really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
are
sure
they?
they
Okay.
are.
I was gonna say with Sonic, I mean, there hasn't really. I feel like there hasn't really been a good one in a little bit. So, but like Sonic's still a character that people remember, right?
They put out Sonic Mania, which was like a remaster of the original Sonic, I think
Mm-hmm.
made by like fans, and then Sega bought it, and it was like, oh, now you can watch it. I mean, not watch it, play it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I know people are still remembering those ones. Those are the big guys.
Oh yeah.
Will Tony Hawk always be remembered as like a video game? I'm sure he'll be remembered as a person for a skating
Yep.
figure, but will he always be remembered for his video games? I don't know. Because the Tony Hawk brand isn't that big these days. They put out the remake of the first two, and that did okay, I'm sure, but they're not making any new games as of right now, I guess.
They tried to what? They remastered lately. What have they really remastered? Well, not really remastered, but re-released, remastered, so on. They've done well, Nintendo re-released the Mario games, right? Mario
Yeah, they
Galaxy,
just did
Super
that, and
Mario
now they're gonna take
Sunshine.
them away at the end of this year. I think you can't
Yep,
buy them anymore,
I
which is
knew about
weird.
that. And they had a bunch of issues too, but oh, probably won't get into that. Um But they did that. Spyro got a remaster, right? The three main Spyro games got a remaster and re-release. I have those actually, and they're a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Those came
Crash
out amazing.
Bandicoot did too.
Yep, Crash Bandicoot. Um, would you say that Doom 2016 was a like? Is that more of a reboot or was it kind of like
Yeah,
a
I would say it's a
re-release?
reboot.
Okay. Um, let's see what else? What else? Recently, because I know there's one more. Well, you're obviously you said Sonic. Um. Oh, the Tony Hawks, right? So, that seems to be something right now, like in an effort to kind of preserve history in a way. They're trying to port over a lot of games onto newer
I mean,
stuff
there's
that were
also
like
Demon
old.
Souls,
Yep, Demon Souls got remastered. That's true as
the
well.
big one.
And are they're trying to, or there's talk of like a Bloodborne. Either is it a second or are they remastering it?
Is there? I didn't hear anything about that.
I've definitely heard talk about that. I'd have to
I
look it up to
mean,
make sure, but
Elden Ring is the next thing FromSoft is making.
is it?
Yeah. So, but
Yeah,
I don't know about them remastering
Bloodborne
it.
Remaster is set to release on both PlayStation 5 and PC via Epic Game Store.
That's cool.
So that could be kind of cool. Like, that would be pretty huge. I would probably do a replay of it on PC for sure. Especially if it's
Yeah, with
remastered.
a DLC.
Yeah, probably. Definitely. It could be a lot of fun. Um,
Mhm.
what about like racing games? Like aside from Mario Kart, like what about actual like real racing games? Do we feel like any of those would stand the test of time? Of
Uh,
any sort? Was there any that you remember as a kid growing up in terms of racing games that you felt like everybody
I
that you
played
talked to knew
Crash
about?
Bandicoot, Tag Team Racing or whatever it was.
What about Need for Speed Underground? I remember that. That
Yeah,
was
those
on the
were okay.
GameCube.
Yeah, I played a bunch of Need for Speed ones, but I don't know which ones exactly.
I played a bunch too, but for whatever reason, I always remembered Underground. I don't know if it was because I had it on. It was probably because I had it for so long on GameCube. But I feel like that was one that I talked to like in middle school. I was like talking to kids, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, dude, I got, I've been playing Underground for a little bit. This is like, the new car I got or something like that or whatever." And I'd be like, "Oh, that's sick," and we'd talk about that.
I played
Um,
Simpsons Hit and Run when I was a kid.
oh, I remember talking to you about that. Didn't we like
Yeah,
replay that or something? Oh no,
I
you had
replayed
it.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have it.
I was over your house and I think we were playing it. That was
Replayed it recently, and I 100%ed it.
I was
I had
awful at
one
it.
friend who got me into that game, and so I talked a lot with him when I
Hmm.
was back in elementary school or middle school, whenever that was.
I gotta be real. Honestly, Super Mario 64, and I only say this because it's up right now. I actually never played growing up. I still probably
I never
I
had it
don't
on
think I played
64.
it. So
Yeah.
I never even like emulated or anything because I just didn't ever play it. But it was something that I was aware of, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I never had an N64, so
Mm.
I didn't play Mario 64 until later.
Mm.
And the Banjo Kazooie and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Missed out. I was playing Tony Hawk on my Xbox.
In terms of leaving a bad legacy behind, the one game that I was gonna say that will always be remembered as a bad game is
Wow, the one game you can't remember, huh?
I just
Hello?
E.T. E.T. for the
Yeah,
Atari.
I knew you were gonna say that, but
I definitely
took me a
feel
little
like
while.
that's gonna be like I was trying to think because I was like I know it's like two letters, dude. What the fuck? I haven't seen E.T. forever though, like as a kid, you know.
I never played it. It's way past my
Oh,
time.
I never played it either. I don't even have an Atari. That's like the one console I'm really like missing in my collection. Minus,
Yeah,
I guess I'm
I had
missing
one
a
of those plug and
SNES.
play Ataris.
Oh, really?
I used to, yeah, that's what I grew up on.
Hmm.
I played Adventure and stuff like that.
Adventure. That's a fun one. I
I
don't.
mean,
That's
not
not
when
one
you're a
that's
kid, you really don't understand what the fuck's happening, and as an adult, you really don't understand what the fuck's happening. So,
Yeah, but the idea that like it was the first game ever to have like a hidden Easter egg in it was kind of cool.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I guess you would really have to know that as like a game design person or something, or like a game theorist, or history nut, because like
Game theorist.
otherwise, I guess it wouldn't be that like you know interesting to you, because it's just you're a fucking
Yeah,
square going through a maze, right? Like,
pretty
although
much.
then again, Pong I feel like will always stand the test of time, and that's literally just a fucking square bouncing off of like two rectangles. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That and like Tetris. I think like those, especially Tetris, dude. That was the other
yeah,
one that I was missing. Like, if you don't know about Tetris, like I don't, dude, I don't even know. Like 100 years from now, I bet you Tetris is still like well known.
yeah,
I just don't ever foresee that ever going away. It's so simple of a game to like really like know, and then to master it takes like some skill. Like I think it's pretty incredible to be honest, like that kind of like gameplay,
yeah.
I definitely gotta say that. Um, what else? What else? What was your first console you said was an Xbox or no? What was your first
Yes.
console? Xbox.
Well, I mean, it was PlayStation technically, but I was too young to even really know how to use it.
Oh, okay, okay.
My Xbox was like the first one I actually played.
Gotcha. And do you remember what like your first game was on there, or was it Lego Star Wars or
Probably, yeah,
yeah.
because seeing I wanted the console to play just that was probably one of them.
I
Uh,
remember scrolling through the dark web for like cheat codes in Star Wars because I'd finished the whole game and like wanted to unlock everything else. There was like these like, I mean, they were really called like cheat codes technically, but they were like you would just go in and like type in the code and then you would unlock stuff like Palpatine's lightning bolts or I don't know. I think there was like gold hearts and shit like that. That was kind of cool. Back in the day, like they
Well,
had
yeah, I
cheat
used to get
codes.
like they would sell them at bookstores. So it would be like cheat code books.
I remember that. And like that was kind of cool. I kind of I don't want to say I miss that nowadays, but like it was an interesting thing was like this idea that there's like these hidden things that sometimes you could either obtain faster or the only way to obtain them was to like get these cheat codes. And I don't know, I think that's kind of interesting. Especially nowadays, I feel like they could do like some really unique ways of like hiding those into the game. Like like maybe every once in a while there's like a letter that pops up or something like that on a doorway or and you wouldn't know unless you were like purposely looking for it, but like if you put all those letters together it would like do a cheat code and you would be able to unlock something rare, like
Well,
some
or
games do
sometimes
that
there'd just
nowadays.
be
But
game progression.
mhm
Yeah.
yeah, I remember there was like cheat codes for like unlocking areas earlier, right? Like certain doors and stuff like that.
Yeah, or just like big head mode or
Yeah, I
like
remember
that.
that. Big head mode, big gun mode. You'd have like the giant like this
Lots
giant
of
like
stuff like
Lego
that.
pistol.
Yeah.
That was funny. There's also like invisibility where you'd be completely invisible. I don't know. I just thought that was cool, and it wasn't just like Lego Star Wars that did that, because like obviously, and we already said it. There was like books for like tons of games in like bookstores that were like cheat codes for certain games. But it feels like that died out. I would say it died out like probably I'm gonna say modernish, but now I guess the 360 and PS3 would not be really modern gaming consoles. So, but I would say it probably died with those, right? Because I mean, I think there's still cheat codes for like PS2 and like
Some
the
games still
Xbox
keep them
original.
going. I mean, in like Doom Eternal, you find the cheat codes in the game as like, secrets.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess that's
Some games
true.
are
Right?
still doing it, like, but again, it's kind of like that older sentimentality that you just don't see that much
hmm
anymore.
Actually, oddly enough, and this is kind of something off topic a little bit, but I guess it does have to talk about cheating, and also it goes back on like suits and stuff like that. But there was a company at the time when Pac-Man had just been released and had such a successful run. There was a not really a company, but like a startup of these kids that designed these boards that they would plug into a Pac-Man unit, and it would add more randomization to like maps. And oddly enough, well, not oddly enough, but they started selling them to other kids so that they could basically do it themselves. And uh, well, they got sued for it. And
Good
but then
old.
as part of like the suit, they would either have to pay or they took this basically, I guess it would be a plea deal, that they would join and help use their like knowledge of these boards to mod other games, um, and thus what ended up coming out of it was Pac-Man became I think Mrs. Pac-Man. That's when Mrs. Pac-Man got created because Mrs. Pac-Man actually
Really?
has more variation in its maps and stuff like that than the original Pac-Man. Because if you
Yeah.
play like the original Pac-Man, it just keeps on resetting the board every level. But Mrs. Pac-Man completely changes the level.
I didn't know it came from that.
So yeah, that was one of the games. There was another game that I want to say was like, yeah, it might have been like that. It's like a game with a plane. Like you're holding like you're playing as a bomber. It's like a year. I forgot what it is. Is it like 1912 or something like that? I think.
Are you talking about the arcade game?
Yeah,
Like 1943, I think.
1943 or whatever. You
Yeah.
just basically fly like a bomber, right? And that had very little variation, and once again they added variation to it with mops, with a mod board that basically uh just added extra code. It looks like if you looked at it nowadays, you'd be like, "What the fuck is that?" Because it literally just looks like a little circuit board. It doesn't look modern at all because obviously back then, circuit boards were completely composed of like transistors and all sorts of other stuff that weren't like flat circuits. They're all like big circuits. So it looked weird, but kind of incredible how that ended up turning out. And luckily, you know, obviously the kids got kind of away with what they did and ended up getting a job out of it. So,
Okay, cool.
but I thought that was
So
interesting, you know.
mod video games to get
Yeah, mod
jobs, is what
video
you're saying.
games. Yeah, and get sued. Mod- is there anything else you want to like talk about in terms of classic games?
I mean, I'm just trying to think of stuff I played. Uh, I don't know. I just played a lot of Tony Hawk. That's what I remember. So, I mean, a lot of like the older games I've played, just I didn't play until I was older, and like, uh, cause I got an Xbox and I got a Wii.
I
So I played on the
remember.
Wii, played Mario Galaxy. I've replayed Mario Galaxy recently on the Switch, and I do not think it holds up personally. Uh, but it's kind of nostalgic going through that.
Yeah, so it's like the nostalgia of the game worth, or does it assist in making the game feel better despite its not standing up or standing the test of
Probably
time
to
to
a
you?
certain extent. I think it
Like,
depends on how rose tinted my glasses are. Like, I had a really good time with Mario Galaxy, so I was looking forward to playing it again, and then it just did not reach the standards, I guess, that the first time I
hmm
like, or I just
hmm
didn't remember it. I thought I remember it being better, I guess. So in that case, I think the nostalgia actually probably hurt it because I was expecting something more.
I feel like one game I always end up going back to when I talk about like arcade games, or not really arcade, but like retro classic games. One game that I personally could say that like every single time I've ever gotten, like if I had like an emulator or something like that, I try and put on there is like Super Mario World.
Oh yeah,
Like I just feel like that was always a game that I was like, oh, I gotta put this on there because I love this game, and like I would go put some hours into it, make it a couple worlds in or something, and then you know it was just really cool. And then obviously after that they had what, Super Mario World 3 with Yoshi. Like that's probably the other one that I remember. I think 3 was with Yoshi. Like you could ride
no,
Yoshi
you're
and like apples.
thinking. Well, that was Super Mario World.
Was it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. That's what I remember.
Super Mario Brothers 3 is maybe the one you're thinking of.
That one also had Yoshi in it, didn't it? Or no?
No, it did not. Yoshi came in World.
Oh,
I
okay.
I was just about to say I had both those
Oh,
games
yeah. Super Mario World 3 was the other one that I
on the
remember because I
GameCube on
remember
my Game Boy Advance.
the little tail guy. You could like run around.
Hmm.
You could get the double pack. See, this is the one that I had. I had like the double pack with Super Mario World and then Super Mario Bros. 3. It was like a
Yeah, I
two.
had that on my GameCube. Not my game. Yeah, my Game Boy Advance.
Yep. Yep. That's what I remember. That was a fun game. There was a lot. I don't know. I always ended up re-downloading or like replaying that because it was just, I don't know. It was just a classic. It just felt good. It stood the test of time. It was something that I could always go back to, and it still played well. Like it still had like a skill level that felt good, but wasn't so hard that like you had to be like super stressed about the way you were playing. Like you could play it casually, and it just felt like a casual game. You know. Um,
Yeah.
there's another game that I was gonna bring up. Shit, it was another Mario game, I guess. I think. I don't know. It'll have to come back to me later. It wasn't that. I mean, those were obviously the ones I wanted to talk about, but there was another one that I was thinking about that I was like, oh yeah, I remember playing that one a lot too, but can't remember. It'll come back to me eventually.
Yeah, I remember playing some Tekken when I was a kid.
Yeah. All right. So Tekken. I see. I never played again. I never played really any fighting games. I still don't nowadays either. But so you did Mortal Kombat, you said, in Tekken. Did you do Street Fighter 2 back in the day, or Street Fighter more of a newer
No, I
thing?
didn't have access to that. Like the
Okay.
only way I had access to Mortal Kombat, I played Mortal Kombat 9 on my Xbox.
Mhm.
That was with the 360 though, so that was little later on.
Mhm.
And then Tekken I played at a roller rink all the time. There's Tekken. I think it was Tekken 5.
On like an arcade cabinet, yeah.
Yes, on an arcade cabinet, just like against the computer, basically. Uh, those are fun. I think that probably I still like fighting games a lot, so it's probably because of Tekken.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just Smash Brothers in general. I played Smash Brothers Brawl on my Wii a lot.
Yep. Yep. I did a lot of growing up. I did a lot of pinball. Like pinball was
Pinball.
pretty big for me. I don't know
Oh
why.
yeah.
If there was a pinball cabinet, like that's what I gravitated towards.
Hmm.
Because I don't know. I thought like the whole idea of it was pretty cool. I actually was like semi decent at it when I was a kid too, which is kind of weird. Because I remember I went over to one of my uncles had like it was a Frankenstein one. Yeah.
Possibly.
I think it was like a Frankenstein's monster pinball machine or something. And basically it had Frankenstein's head in the center with two hands. And I thought this thing was the coolest thing in the world. And basically you shot, obviously, you know, you did your usual thing. Obviously he didn't have the quarter mechanism, so you didn't have to put in a quarter. So you just pulled the ball back. You got 3 balls, pretty standard. You would tap it around, yada, yada, yada. If you hit the square that was like a special square twice, and then shot it up the center and into the Frankenstein's monsters. Like he had like a little hole in front of him. If it went inside, it would lock there, and then all of a sudden, like he would say something, and then he'd start screaming, and then all of a sudden, out of his hands, it would start ejecting balls equal to your high score. So you'd have like, I mean, not equal. Like there was probably some math there, but like if you had like, I remember having like a 10,000 score at the time, and I had like 10 pinballs on the fucking field, and you're just like, whoa, like trying to keep them all going, but he would just chuck them out of his hands. Can't remember what the hell that was. I feel like it was Frankenstein's
Yeah, that might be. There's a
monsters.
lot of pinball machines that are just based off of like existing properties.
Mm-hmm.
They're very easy to just make based off of something because you just got plastered pictures of it all over it.
Yeah, it was this one. It was a Mary Shelley's Frankenstein pinball machine. And basically it had this dude in the center, and he had these hands, and it would start chucking the balls out. I wish there was like video footage of it. This is yeah, there he is. This is the dude right here. So the balls would start coming out from behind him into his hand, and then his arms would flick, and they'd end up onto the playing field. And you would end up with so many. It was like crazy how many you would end up with. Mary Shelley's. I wonder if I can get a video of that. I don't even know what the hell is Mary Shelley's. Is that a movie?
Dude,
Mary
are you
Shelley's.
fucking serious?
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh my god. I don't even. I'm gonna go get a drink. I'm not gonna even answer that. Think about it. Look it up, for Christ's sake. You really don't know?
I probably do.
It's the fucking author of the book, man. Mary Shelley? You never heard of her before?
I guess not. I guess I never really read the book, so.
Jesus, I'm gonna get a drink. I'll be right back.
I want to see if there's a part where he flicks this. I apologize. We're looking. I'm trying to see if I can get the point where he starts like chucking the balls out. This guy's got pretty high score right now.
Find the video.
I found a video.
Is it like some pinball enthusiast?
Yeah, he's got a pretty high score right now, not gonna lie. I'm just trying to see if there's a point where he's got a shit ton of balls on the ground. Oh, there's one in that dude's hand now. Did he just throw that? I don't know.
Yes,
I mean,
Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein.
I can kind of show it, I guess, right here. It's not really like super clear, I suppose, but like if you go right about here, you can see there's a ball in his hand right here. And so right now, I think at this point in the video, he's probably gonna lose this ball, and that's gonna count as like an extra, basically. So technically, he should lose the game, but because he has such a high score and he'd already gotten a ball up there, there's going to be a point where when this ball drops down below, it's going to count as like an extra life, basically. But sometimes there would be balls that just start popping out and like flying out. There it comes. Yep. So it would just start chucking them. I don't know why he just gave up right there. But anyways, that was kind of the idea, was that like either A, it would count as like an extra ball, I guess, or B, based off of like your scoring or something, it would start just like boom, 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 and like chucking them out. Because I definitely remember having like 10 balls at like at my uncle's house or something. My uncle just walked in and he's like, "Holy shit, how you keep track of all those?" I'm like, "I'm not." Like, here's like
As long as
14-year-old
one of
me,
them's
like, I
up,
don't
then
know.
I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, as long as one stays up, because they didn't count. Like, if I don't know how it really
This
did
is
the
like
math
any
on
other
that, but
pinball game, man.
really, like all the other ones would have
Yeah,
like a bunch on the field at the same time.
they can. Yeah,
Oh,
I've seen that before. Seen that tons of times before.
I just
Not
there
just
was only two.
Frankenstein's
Well, I mean, yeah,
game.
probably not just that one. I guess I would assume that, but I remember personally there was one that like God, I think the only two that I ever played on was that one, and then the other pinball machine was a Playboy one, like a Playboy pinball machine. That was really it.
Yeah.
Yep, that was it.
I
Playboy
mean,
pinball machine. It had like
as
the
far as
little
arcade,
Playboy rabbit on it.
yeah, I can speak a little more on arcade games because whenever we go to Fun Spot, you guys blow all your tokens, and I'm sitting there playing the old games.
Yeah. Tell us about that. Tell us about the us blowing our tokens and you actually enjoying yours.
Well, last time when we go on vacation, we usually go to this place, Fun Spot, and it has like this entire floor full of classic arcade games. And then uh, John, Enigma, and Tommy will go and they'll play a couple of old games, and then you guys will go and just use the rest of it on some stupid ticket game that you don't care about for some reason. And I never understand why, because I don't even think you guys ever get anything with the tickets.
He got that
And
Stein that one time.
oh, okay, you got a Stein.
That's a fun spot on the
So
side.
I still have half my tokens left, and they're bugging me to leave because they have wasted all of their money. Uh, but I always stick. I go and play Tetris. I go and play Food Fight. I play Sinistar. I
Food fight.
play Galaga. I play. I don't know. Like what is that? Punch Out TV or something?
Yeah.
Uh, and then there's just regular Punch Out.
There's a bunch
Uh,
of weird ones in there too, like obscure games, right?
Centipede. Yeah, there's tons of them.
There's also that Star Trek game. I remember that one.
I don't know if I could. I remember trying to play it. I don't know if I ever understood what was happening.
Oh, I didn't understand what was happening. I just remember you sitting down and it being like, you were like, it was during your like Star Trek phase where you're like really big into it, like you were
I'm
watching all the
still like
episodes and
Star
stuff.
Trek.
I know, like you still like it, but like you had like a moment where like that was like big for you, like really big, and that was one of the summers that we had gone, and you were like, Star Trek game. I didn't even know they had this. And then you sat down and like, actually, you might have not have said it like that, but 'cause I was just
Star
thinking that.
Trek. Do you know they had this? I don't think I did say it like that.
I remember usually the games that I gravitate towards in Fun Spot, besides the ticket ones for some reason, was I would often do like Frogger. I did a lot of Pac-Man. I don't really think I ever played Asteroids in there because it wasn't that big for me to like go back to. It was just a game that I played as a kid, but it wasn't like massive for me to play. Um, Centipede, Galaga a little bit. Probably Donkey Kong was another one. There's also that twin stick that I played.
Yeah, that's what I
Uh,
was talking about. Something TV. Smash TV, I think it was
Smash
called.
TV, yeah, right. It was like that twin stick one that like you could control your character and like beat the
Yeah.
shit out of waves of kind of just a
Mhm.
wave game, but it was good. I did do some pinball machines there. I don't really remember which ones exactly, but I know I did. And then obviously Sinistar, yeah. That was definitely the big one. And it was even bigger the second time because I was just like, oh my god. It's the most played game on my arcade cabinet here at the house is Sinistar.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it has the most starts. Second to
Probably half of them are
JoJo's
me.
second to JoJo's fighting game or something.
Yeah. JoJo's.
I
Yeah,
don't even know
those
what it
games are
was.
cool.
It was like JoJo's Bizarre Fight or
Adventure,
something. I don't
probably.
remember. Yeah, adventure like
Some
fighting
sort
game or
of
something.
prefix. Mhm.
Food Fight's
Cool.
close to that one as well. Also, I think
Yeah.
Burger Time's coming up there because we played that a shit ton the last time you came over.
Yeah. I do like my Burger Time.
Burger Time, man. That's a good one.
That one they have on the arcade cabinet at school. That's how I found that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'd played it at Fun Spot.
Yeah, and then I recognized that fun spot, and I was like, oh, it's
It
like
still
Burger
has the
Time.
issues though, like especially
The
that's one of the
controls,
games
yeah.
that's like weird and controlling on my arcade, but it also was weird at Fun Spot because I remember trying it and being like, "Oh, this is still weird."
Mhm.
I don't know, maybe it was that game. Certain
The
games like
lever,
that were like weird.
yeah, because I think the lever only registers directions that are perfectly one way and not
Hmm.
you can't have any diagonal.
Yeah. And that's pretty hard nowadays. Like you can't really find joysticks that are only four axes that you can't hit them diagonally. Cause like I was trying to find one for a while, especially like a sandwall one, and like all they have is like
You can
the
just get a
eight
square
axis
gate
ones. But you can get a
and then
square.
put it.
No, well no, because the square gate will still allow you to go diagonally and press the buttons
If you
occasionally.
put it on like a like, can't it's
Oh, like a
possible to.
diamond, do you think?
Yeah, you could probably do that.
Really? I'd
Yeah.
have to look at it again. Although, but see, then I can't play the games that would require diagonal movement, so
No,
that
you
would be a
wouldn't,
problem.
but you could do it if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
that'd be the way to
Cool.
do that. Because Pac-Man has the same problem occasionally. But the thing with Pac-Man I found out is if you kind of like rotate, it kind of works, as opposed to just trying to go directional input. So as opposed to like if I'm heading straight up and then I want to head immediately straight down, well actually in that case I probably would just pull down. But if I'm heading like maybe up and then I want to take like a right, I'll actually like kind of push up and then rotate to the right, and so that kind of goes diagonal and then inputs in the right direction. Um, so you just have to learn like a timing with that, and then it ends up working fine. Because I definitely have done plenty of Pac-Man on my arcade cabinet. But
Yeah, Pac-Man's fun.
yeah, it is definitely is a good game.
I remember playing Dig Dug a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
Dig Dug being a classic.
What about? I mean, we are called classic games, so maybe I shouldn't do this. But I was gonna say, what about modern games? Do you think any modern games will stand the test of time?
Hmm.
Concurrently, like, is there anything that you've recently played or have played
Specifically,
specifically that you're like, this is gonna be a good game in the future?
it's harder to say for modern games because not a lot of time has passed since they come out, so it's like hard to
Mm-hmm.
say. I don't know.
I definitely
Uh,
have one.
what? Yeah, go for it.
League of Legends,
Oh
though
my
not my
god.
favorite game, is definitely a game that I don't think will disappear for a very long time if it ever did.
You're
I think
so
Riot's got
why?
such a
What makes you
firm.
think that?
It's it's one of those games that even if it died in the U.S. somehow, which I highly doubt, it would be the biggest game over in like Asian culture.
Yeah.
Because that's where it's really huge right now. Even right now, like sure, it's talked about, a decent amount, and it's still popularized in NA and EU, but it's nothing in comparison to the Korean servers and the Asian servers. And actually, in parts of China and parts of Korea, there's actual like locations that will give you discounts on your food and stuff like that based off your rank in league. I've read like
Yeah.
an entire article about that. I was like, this is crazy. Like if you're like challenger, like you got this like incredible discount on like your food. Like so I don't foresee that ever happening. And considering it's so big over there, again, is it possible it dies in NA and EU? Absolutely. But I highly doubt it considering how big it is over there. And the only way it would completely die out is if it died over there and then Riot also stopped pouring money into it and allowing so many tournaments to be a thing. Because for whatever reason, because it's such a big game and it gained all this popularity and everything, especially over, like I said, in Asia and stuff like that, Riot was able to basically pour money and utilize the funds from the games, that the game makes, and turn that into tournament profits and stuff like that, so that they could host these elaborate giant tournaments like Worlds and stuff like that. That are, I mean, they pull so much viewership, even
Oh
currently.
yeah.
Like
They
it's
fill
crazy.
stadiums.
They do. They literally do. Like in comparison to some of the other games that you see competitive gameplay in, like Call of Duty or CS:GO and stuff. I mean, it it rivals that to a whole nother level. I mean, it's almost double, if not triple, sometimes what the average CS:GO like big tournaments do. Like it's crazy. So I don't know. I think it's gonna stand up for a
I
long
mean,
time.
I guess I just can't. I don't see why another MOBA can't just take its place. I mean, Dota has been in competition with it forever. Isn't Dota still huge?
No, Dota's not huge.
Are you
Most
sure?
players that move like enjoy Dota moved over to League. I mean, there is still a competitive scene for Dota, but it's lower than CS:GO. Literally, in terms of like competitive scene, CS:GO is the closest to League. I mean, technically, and I guess that could be an argument that CS:GO would, also be something that lasts a long time. I don't
It
know
already
enough about
has
the game
lasted a
to be
long
able,
time.
but yeah. I mean, so is League though. I mean, both of them have lasted probably around the same amount, right? When was
I
CS:GO
mean,
released?
I'm not sure. But CS:GO is still based off of an old game. Like, I
CS:GO
feel
was
like
released in
because of that, it's
2012.
even older than it actually is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess you're right, because old CS, right?
Because it's basically the same thing. It's just with upgrade graphics and a different engine. It's like the new Source engine instead of the old one. So it's
CS
basically the same
original
game.
release date. Counter-Strike 1.0 was released in 2000s.
Yeah, that's real old. That's when
So
Half-Life came out.
yeah, and CS:GO was released in 2012. So League was released in I think 2009. I want to say it was when I bought the CD version of it. Yeah, 2009. And Dota 2 came out in 2013.
Okay.
I wonder what's the level on League right now. I mean, League's so popular that right now they've decided to even port it over to mobile.
I mean, porting anything over to mobile is just
Is probably a good
making
idea,
money.
but
Yeah.
uh let's see. League of Legends statistics. Wonder what like this is just profile. Uh, player count graph. I'm just curious what the graph of League of Legends is right now. League of Legends player count in 2011 was 11.5 million.
It's a lot.
For monthly players playing at the same time was close to like 4.5 million, with daily players rounding upwards of 8.6 million. And in 2011 there was also 32.5 million brand new accounts.
Mm.
In 2012 that number rose to 70 million new accounts. 2014 was 65 million new accounts. Right now in 20, okay, so here's actually the graph. Uh, yeah, I mean it's on the rise. According to this, they've risen 115 million monthly players since 2011.
Mm. Yeah, it's
So, as long as it's still on the rise, I mean that's kind of a thing, right? Um, okay, so to answer some of your questions, because they actually have on this website, League of Legends versus Dota is League has 115 million monthly players count and a peak of 50 million daily players, with Dota 2 only has 11 million monthly player count at 1 million daily players. So League is
okay.
about 10 times the size of its direct competitor Dota 2. They also compare it to Minecraft. One of the most famous games all over the world, only has 10 million more players than League of Legends. So Minecraft's actually bigger than League by 10
That
million
makes
more
sense.
players. And then CS:GO, So has only 26 million monthly players, and League has almost 100. So it has, wow. So CS:GO's only pulling like a fifth of what League pulls, which is actually surprising because I would have expected CS:GO to be higher than that of Dota. So Dota's actually higher. So in perspective, it would be like CS:GO, Dota 2, League, and then Minecraft, which is kind of wild. And Minecraft to League is a very close gap as opposed to the CS:GO and uh, Dota 2 gap.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
kind of
Minecraft's a
interesting.
big game.
Yeah, it is. I would say Minecraft would definitely stand the test of time. I don't ever foresee that going away.
I mean, it already. I feel like it kind of already is. How old is that game?
Minecraft?
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, if you're talking initial, because wasn't that one of those games that like came out in beta too?
Yeah.
Uh, Pre-orders for full game were accepted in 2009, and the official release date was 2011. So Minecraft actually came out after League. That's surprising.
Oh,
Really,
yeah.
Minecraft was 2011?
Yeah, that sounds right.
How old was I? It was 9 years ago? So that would have been right before I started high school? Ish? Right before we started high school?
Man, what year was it?
2011? Would have been like 8th
We
grade.
graduated in 2017. So
Oh, so I guess we would have been in middle school. Yeah, middle
yeah.
school. Interesting. I don't know. That's crazy. All of that's crazy. Um, I would say probably if I was gonna put my money on any games standing the test of time, it would be those four that we just talked about. Although I guess an argument could be made nowadays with the most modern game of Fortnite being a thing that one could also stand the test of time. But
Well,
I
I mean, that
really
has
hope that it
servers that
doesn't.
will shut down eventually is the thing. I think any like game that's has to be online. I mean, I guess League you could say the same
League,
thing.
yeah, you would say League would be
Uh,
the same thing.
but like I think Minecraft has a better time of probably surviving if
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have to play with other people. Servers don't need to be up.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually something that we should definitely talk about with talking about classic games and stuff that will stand the test of time or be remembered. One of the craziest parts about games and one of the sad parts about games, in my personal opinion, as opposed to something like, say, film or another media, is especially nowadays with the rise of multiplayer games, if a company decides that a video game is not making enough money to warrant the servers, a lot of times with those games, they'll close the servers and then the games basically disappear into the sands of time. And sure, they may be remembered by certain people, like I remember Blacklight, but one of the biggest things is because unless the company's gracious and decides to release the files, which most of the time they aren't, or someone was able to like kind of take the files and like kind of make like a I don't know what to call it, like a Jimmy rigged version of the game that people can download online and play, which then that could be littered with like viruses and all sorts of other problems. Unless something like that happens, that game is gone. Like there's no way unless that company brings back the original source files that you can play that game. And that's kind of crazy to me that think that like a game could totally disappear. Like sure, Blacklight's probably not a great example because not a lot of people would know about that. But say something like League, say Riot in the distant future, like wasn't making enough money. All of a sudden, it did start dying, and they said, "Fuck it, like we're not making enough to like warrant these servers being up." Like Valorant's doing better. Like let's shut down League servers, and League servers completely shut down. They take away the source code. They don't really release it to anybody. Like what's gonna happen is sure people will remember that game, but like there's no way to like have that nostalgia feel that we have for like Pac-Man or something like that. Because like right, like Pac-Man, sure we can't get our hands on an arcade like, but we can go get an emulator and play like the ROM and be like, oh yeah, all right, this game's fun. You know what I mean? Because those were like games that didn't require to be played on like a server. But like Blacklight, like for me specifically, or like League, and if that ever shut down,
It'll be
like
TF2 for me soon.
yeah, TF2, right? It would be one of those games where like it shut down and you go, oh dude, I remember playing this game as a kid with TF2, and then you go, maybe I should download that, and you go download it, and it says, oh, like the server shut down, and like you just can't get into the game. and it's like holy shit, like you can't relive that, you know. You might be able to remember the time, but you can't relive that, which I think is really like kind of a sad idea about video games, you know, is like, especially with, like I said, the whole multiplayer aspect of it nowadays, is that eventually there's going to become a time where like a lot of these multiplayer games are going to not going to exist anymore. There's going to be no way to like relive that moment that you had.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Sad.
It is sad. Whereas like, you know, something like, again, more modernized, something like Doom Eternal, which, you know, obviously Corn is very fond of.
Yes.
That'll even if the servers die for the multiplayer, you could still download it and play the single player, which arguably is the best part of that game.
Yeah. I don't think years from now people are gonna be remembering the
Doom multiplayer.
multiplayer.
No.
Yeah. I mean, maybe some people, but not most.
But like until recently, like something like Halo 2 really couldn't be played online. Because
No.
those
Well, I
servers had
mean,
long been shut down off of live.
yeah.
And there was no real way. I mean, okay, that was one of the
I'm sure
cases
there
where
was a
like
way.
I had figured out a way to like Jimmy rig that as a
Yeah.
kid, so I'm sure there was other people that did. You had to like connect it through a network on your laptop or whatever, and then use like this program that siphoned the data and then pushed it out to a retro server that someone else had hosted. So there was a way with that. But that was probably again, okay. So if I'm pushing that on something, that's probably again because back then a lot of the games that we had were on discs. Yeah, like that, when you think about it, Xbox Original had Halo 2. There was no digital games back then. It was all discs. So it was really easy for like something like that to be recreated. Whereas in our digital era, where all the digital files are really locked down tight and sealed with encryption and stuff like that, I think it's really hard for people to like sure, there's data miners out there that data mine like patch notes and stuff like that before they actually come out, but they're not getting full unsourced like source code, because the thing is that source code's being held on a server. Back in like Halo 2 era, a lot of the source code was just sitting on that disk, believe it or not. There was very minor stuff that was being sent back to the server, which is probably why a lot of times back then they had like discrepancy with like lags and stuff like that would happen, and inputs and shit like that being a thing. But, you know,
Mhm.
price of technology, I suppose, in the future is that we gain tighter securities, and you know, things are usually more better optimized and stuff like that for player experience, but yet now we're gonna lose it all because it's all digital age, you know. I'm still a disc guy. Are you still a disc guy?
I mean, I buy Blu-rays still, so
Yeah, I
yes,
guess
I
that's
would say I'm
true.
a disc person.
Like for games, would you still prefer going and getting like a
No,
disc version, or do you prefer digital
I
nowadays?
don't. Oh, I mean, as long as I have the room on my hard drive, I'll just buy digital. Like
Mm-hmm.
I bought a lot of Switch games physical because they didn't have any room on the
Mm-hmm.
actual console to store any games. So
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
I don't really miss like driving somewhere and buying a game that much. I'm okay just downloading it.
I'm retro. I'm disc for retro. Is the best way to describe me.
What disc? What?
So, PC gaming, like modern PC gaming, modern like Xbox One, PS4s, you know, now with like the new Xbox Series X or PS5, like if I was to get any of those or like my Switch or whatever, I'm all digital. Modern gaming, I'm all digital. But Xbox 360, the PS3, anything later than those, everything is disc. There's very few games that I got digital on those.
How can you what? Before that, you really couldn't get digital.
Yeah, before that you couldn't at all, but those two were definitely the point where like kind of the swap was happening, and even then I was still all disc. Like there's very few games on both of those that are digital. Which I remember sitting there waiting, cuz the other thing was is the PS3 had a really awful Ethernet port on it, by the way, and it also, I mean, I think I had Wi-Fi too. I want to say I had a Wi-Fi card built into it, which was kind of nice back in the day because the Xbox 360 didn't, or at least not the fat edition that I always had, which was like the big fat white one. Um, That one you had to buy like a separate Wi-Fi card adapter that was like super expensive. I think it was like $60. It was like ridiculous. But anyways, the PS3 had one built into it, and I remember uh trying both that and the Ethernet port on it, and they were just like garbage for download rate. Although I feel like that's still the case with modern PlayStation
Yeah,
consoles.
I
They
was gonna
kind of
say.
download really slow. Like I don't know what it is about PlayStation, but they are really, really slow.
Old man PlayStation.
Oh man,
No
PlayStation.
download